Good evening, everyone. I was the experimental first child of my parents. This guinea pig treatment I got shaped me to be the person I am today. Like every new ambitious parent, they put me from multiple classes. You name it, and I've done it. From dance, music, yoga, Toastmasters, abacus, swimming, chess. And if you ask me, have I stuck with it all? Yes and no. Each had its timeline. Swimming was with me until school, and I got to participate in numerous competitions and clusters. Music and guitar and I had a journey only until 7th grade. Abacus and I had a journey only until 4th grade. Today, as I stand before all of you, I hope my Toastmasters classes come to use. Surely there was a better way to figure out my interests without breaking the bank. However, each skill is responsible for several personality traits that I possess today. From discipline and routine, creative thinking, sportsmanship, and self-confidence. Jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than a master of one. Historically, we have been using the former part of the quote, and with time came to light its negative connotation. The latter part adds a beautiful twist to the whole quote. This gives optimism and hope for welcoming new perspectives. Different recipes to the same problem and working unitedly with creative differences. We all wear masks, the achiever, the caregiver, the performer, the leader. But the question is not whether we wear them. The question is whether we can stay authentic beneath them. I would like to borrow from two major schools of psychology to set a base for today. One is transactional analysis, developed by Dr. Eric Berne, and two is Carl Rogers' humanistic approach. Now, transactional analysis is a field of psychology, or rather a theory of personality that delves into the core of ourselves for personal growth and change. Dr. Eric Berne talks about a three-part model known as the ego state model, consisting of the parent, adult, and child. What is the ego state model? We shift between these three states depending on the situation that we are in. Now, when do I know which ego state I am in? If you ever see yourself thinking, behaving, or reacting like your parents, grandparents, primary caregivers would, that is when you're in your parent ego state. If you see yourself thinking, behaving, and feeling like how you would do during your childhood, that is when you know you're in your child ego state. Now, what is the adult ego state? Adult ego state talks about our thinking, behaving, and feeling in the present. So at present, I am in my adult ego state, standing in front of all of you, reacting to this light above me, and trying to shake down a trickle of sweat down my back, and hoping whatever I say makes sense. Now that we are aware of our structural psychological architecture, I would like for you all to take a minute and reflect through your day. Where in your day did you reflect from your parent ego state, child ego state, or adult ego state? Moving on, authenticity and congruence, two big words. Two of many characteristics proposed by Carl Rogers. He speaks about several ideal parameters that a person should possess for growth psychologically. Simply put, congruence is a consistency between your ideal or perceived self and your real self. This consistency leads to well-being, genuineness, and unity within ourselves. Facade, mask, alter egos. Each one of us put up these in the workplace, or at home, or with friends. The mask isn't the problem again. The problem is when we forget who we are underneath it. Today, I stand before you with a mask of a psychologist, a dancer, an educator, a researcher, and an actor. I want to take you on a journey with me through these mosaics that continue to shape my life. Now, as we delve into these experiences with small anecdotes, let us constantly check into ourselves, finding that authentic true self beneath us. Let us appreciate our real selves and hold the hand of our alter ego through this journey. A hospital. A hospital is full of surprises, roller coaster of emotions, sudden emergencies, worried parents, unresponsive patients, and stressed staff. When admitted to a hospital, all patients lose their sense of control. They are just reduced to a bed number or a patient number. I play the role of Leela as a hospital clown. During my very first time at the hospital, I encountered a little girl who was clinging onto her mother, had an IV tube latched onto her hand, and was extremely cranky. Now, when we asked the mother, she had mentioned to us that they have been admitted for the past 2 weeks in the hospital. So this child is unresponsive to any of our plays or tricks initially. Soon enough, we created a game of asking her permission to cross the barrier and just sit beside her cot. This magical game included giving her a magical word to help us cross the barrier. That intangible barrier represented breaking the ice between us and the child. Following which, we sat next to her, played games, interacted with her, and she finally broke a smile that felt like a sigh of relief. However, we limited our games. We focused on her personality, calling her name, and giving her the stage to control what and how she would like to interact with us. So here, as a hospital clown, I saw myself shifting between my child ego state and my adult ego state, where I need to be aware and mindful so that I don't make the process too strenuous for her health. The empathy Leah has is translated to her mask as Leela the clown. This is my authentic and congruent self, still reacting beneath all the masks I adorn. Now, as a theater actor and a dancer, I play different roles and different qualities of mine need to be exhibited on stage. I was performing the character of the witch in Hansel and Gretel at the 11th International Little Festival, Chennai. Now, mind you, this is an event for school children, and I had to channel my inner dancer as this was a dance drama that demanded both my dance and theater skills. So there's a lot here at stake. Several masks of mine were intersecting with each other and left me in a conundrum. Why, you may ask? The science of dance and theater went down the drain the minute I saw my audience in the first show. I instantly became the Leah who enjoys being around kids and engaging them in activities. Well, as you all must have guessed, the first show didn't go quite as planned. However, the positive light I saw out of the whole fiasco was that my authentic, genuine self, or rather, my child ego state, came out of my facade very naturally. All I needed to figure out was, how do I create a balance between this and my real self? And what happened as I sat through my thoughts and brought my awareness to all the sensations I went through on that stage, I realized my authentic self was my comfort zone. Now, I needed to play the role aptly to scare the children enough so they know how to save Hansel and Gretel in the next upcoming scenes. Second day went surprisingly well because it was not another night that I was panicking and sleepless and continuously practicing throughout the scenes. Rather, it was a night where I accepted and understood what went wrong and where. Now, this acceptance gives space for play to emerge within our roles. Loosening the constraints that bind us, embracing the grayness, and swiftly navigating through situations with full awareness of our strengths and weaknesses. So, I use the term play. What does play mean? Commonly used to refer to games or sport activities that children engage in. Now, psychology talks about play as a mechanism of any self-directed activity that intrinsically motivates one person. In an extremely stimulated world like ours, play helps us ground ourselves, regulate our nervous system, and release endorphins or natural painkillers. This is a mindful process. Whether it's dancing in the living room, playing in the rain, spending time with family, playing board games, these are all influential factors of well-being. Now, during my initial days in special education, I always tried to put the children in the world that we have created for our easy functioning. Normal is such a subjective word. It keeps changing its meaning from person to person. It took me some time to understand and develop my interventions to fit their normal. Now, my stint as a special educator in the UK saw me engaged with several students on a one-on-one basis. One such student I worked with was on the autism spectrum. He had shown intense interest in two shows, namely Peppa Pig and Number Blocks. His case file mentioned that he was taken out of the class and worked with separately as he does not adapt in classroom settings. This made him mischievous and rebellious to do said work. Now, if I have to explain his personality to you in one phrase, it would be like having the cutest teddy bear, overtly clingy, extremely loving, but also with extreme mood swings. The first 2 days were tough on both of us as we were just building our rapport. But, the mask of authenticity and love that he carried and his sense of focused play that he carried with me was what I needed to imbibe in my teaching methods for him. So I went back home and I watched those two shows to an extent where I would understand the references and characters. On the third day, I greeted him with a puppet that I made. And he came laughing and running towards me. That response I received was the effort I put in to channel my child ego state to be with him at his level and carry the genuineness of the character through puppetry and play. The joy he spread was so contagious that it was my motivation to help him accomplish all the goals set for him. There, it was Leah in her adult ego state who decided to take this step and bring Leah in her child ego state mixed with a little bit of play. I became the character for him who used to write with him, read with him, solve puzzles and math worksheets with him. My job demanded this of me. Now, this could have gone two ways. Either I force the student to abide by whatever the school wants, or creatively deduce a response to the situation. My creative brainstorming process led me to use platforms of expressive arts that helped me be fully engaged and motivated, while using that as a catalyst for learning and changing the pedagogy for that one student. A supportive work environment, autonomy, and trust in my interventions and skills were some of the factors that aided my free functioning in that school. Now, what I see as a common issue with my corporate clients is that they are forced to fit into a box or a template of a role. Let's be honest, an organization flourishes only when the people are allowed to flourish. I worked as an in-house counselor for two companies, Company A and Company B. The most common issue presented by Company A was the lack of confidence to converse within the team. When I inquired a little more about it, I realized that this sort of extended into the organization as well. There was a lack of confidence and free will within the organization, and that top-down leadership style started limiting the employees' skills and resulted in something called quiet cracking or burnout. Now with Company B, on the other hand, employees discussed more personal development and individual day-to-day stressors as core themes. Their organization, like they mentioned, was a flat organization. They appreciated employees' creative brainstorming towards solving workplace issues. The employees emphasized that the trust and flexibility built with the organization has helped them create a balance with their personal life. For instance, there was a team lead that I was working with in Company B, and he spoke to me about how certain members of his team were slow learners or interns. He did not have time as a manager to spoon-feed each and every one of them. We worked on novel yet simple interventions, such as alternating the desks between the slow learners and the experienced professionals. And most importantly, throwing the question back to them to enhance creative thinking. 2 weeks into implementation, we had a team that was working with and for each other. This led to prompt delivery, increased engagement, and unity and cohesion within the team. The team lead was able to focus on his individual deliverables and personal commitments because these interventions had led to a group that was collaborative and communicative. 2 companies, 2 different cultures, and 2 different types of performances from the employees. Likewise, health and wellness is a team that requires gentle communication between the biological, psychological, and social constructs of a person. Flourishing is an upcoming aspect of psychology, and it's widely recognized in contemporary positive psychology. This is a state that extends beyond the mere absence of an illness to embody a dynamic balance across multiple dimensions of life. While faced with day-to-day stressors, we tend to get anxious and overwhelmed, leading to burnout. Burnout is a pandemic. It is rampant and a common denominator of well-being for all well-being related issues. Now, healing isn't about fixing pain. It's about recovering that play. The PERMA model by Martin Seligman, coupled with play and awareness, is a perfect outlook to flourishing. P for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationships, M for meaning, and A for achievement or accomplishment. This model was the base of my personal development sessions with my college students. Here we focused on creating an environment through art and music to express unsaid, pent-up emotions, to create awareness. A lot of students started accepting the arts as a method to look past traumatic scenarios and day-to-day life with a different perspective. Using some of the interventions for themselves has given them the courage to ask for help, spread the word of well-being, and generate positive emotions, such as happiness and relief. These emotions led to an enhancement of relationships and an overall sense of purpose and motivation. This plan can be blindly applied across platforms, from personal to professional, including creating a welcoming, supportive, and understanding work environment, a safe space in a school with utmost support for students to help in their overall growth. Developing a congruent and authentic individual can easily start from home when caregivers accept the strengths each child has and works towards encouraging them with unwavering support, love, and trust. I am a psychologist, a dancer, a clown, a counselor, a researcher, and an actor. When I filled each mask with authenticity and play, they became mirrors, reflecting who I truly am. Surprisingly, the hoarder in me did not throw away this mask I used on this very stage 10 years ago for a school assembly. I cherish the authenticity behind the mask I adorned over the last decade, and I encourage each and every one of you to do so. Thank you.